Hello, everybody. My name is Q. Some people know me by Luna. I want to just sort of do an introduction of myself here on Instagram. I realize I haven't done one yet properly, and for a lot of you that don't know me out there, I just wanted to sort of let you know who I am. I was born and raised in California, moved to Switzerland 20 years ago. I've been tattooing since 2004. Started tattoo machine building in 2006 when I moved to Switzerland. I have posted a lot of videos on my Instagram so far, a lot of informational videos, and I realized recently that they're kind of hard to go through. So I thought I'm going to do sort of a new series of videos and redo a lot of those old ones and try to organize them better for you guys out there so you can sort of learn my machines. Since they are so different, I'm realizing that I'm basically the only source of information for you guys. Just a brief history of me, though. I started tattooing just before I moved to Switzerland, and I'm self-taught. I moved to Switzerland in '06, and I was working with coil machines at the time, like almost everybody else. I picked up maybe a Swiss rotary, but I wasn't really impressed with it, just as far as the performance goes. Very consistent, but not really a good high-performance machine. Coils, of course, were very finicky, and I didn't know if I was tuning them right or not. So there was two main inspirations that I had that got me along my machine building ways. One of them was neodymium or rare earth magnets, and the other one was Nikola Tesla. And I ended up trying to combine these two in a way to make a better tattoo machine. Nikola Tesla, of course, is most famous for inventing AC power, alternating current, and I wanted to use alternating current to be able to basically bounce a magnet off of a coil, which is something I did do. Some of you guys have seen those machines. I never actually sold them because I never liked them better than my coils, so I didn't feel good about selling them, you know. About 12 years, I studied and I pushed and I learned a lot of different things to try to push that machine as far as I could. I had the idea that I'm doing now around 2017 about using, instead of using a digital controller for the timing, to use just motors, a flipping motor with a magnet to do the timing for me. Before that, I was using various programs or tone generators and things like this to do the timing. And I realized it's kind of an overkill and it's very complicated for most tattooers. It was very hard to understand. So my coil machines that I was building before was AC power, and the machines I'm building now is a magnetic rotary. And at the end, they're basically the same as far as the controllability. The magnetic rotary is basically an analog version of that other machine, which was digitally controlled. And the analog version ends up being way better, way more stable, easier to understand, and a lot more compatible with tattooing systems now as far as power units goes. So I'm going to do a basic overview of everything else that I've covered before. I'm going to split this up into various videos. And sort of try to organize it better on my Instagram so that it's easier for you guys to find references if you're having issues or if you're curious about my machine, so you can better understand it. Because I know it's such a unique machine. It's very, at the beginning it's kind of hard to understand, but it's very simple. So all of my machines, I'm going to go over the basic functionality of my machine right now. I'm using a 3rd generation machine here, but this pertains to all my 1st and 2nd generation machines. My 1st and 2nd generation machines, very similar. The 2nd generation was just a little bit of let's call it an advancement of the 1st as far as durability goes. It ended up feeling a little bit different, and I ended up moving to the 3rd generation right away. I might revisit that again soon because I have a lot of people have been asking me about the 1st and 2nd gens. But the 3rd generation, as far as the basic functionality of my machines, it's the same of any of the rotaries that I've built. So you have 3 main things. You have your speed, which is how often the needle actually is moving up and down, how fast, how many times per second or whatever. Some people call it hertz or speed. The third important thing is your stroke, how much of a distance that it's moving. Usually in millimeters, 3 to 5 is your normal parameters, what most people use. And the third thing is give or strength, how hard it's going to hit. So that means how often it hits, how much it's moving, and how hard it's going to be hitting when it does hit. These are three important things. There's a lot of different terms for them. Some people call it stroke, hub, yeah. And then give or strength is pretty much the same thing. How much does the needle bar actually give off after, instead of coming to a dead hit, it's able to physically stop before it hits there. A lot of the rotaries now are claiming to have give, but it's really just a bogging of their motor. The needle bar physically has to complete that cycle before it could pull back. A true give means that it doesn't have to go all the way out. It could stop at any point before that and not have to complete the cycle. Most rotaries now, especially the pins, have no give system. They call it digital give, but it's not really give. It's just a bogging of the motor. The motor actually just slows down as it's pushing through, but it's not stopping before it hits that point. My machine has a true give. It's a magnetic give, so it's very similar to a coil. That means any time along that point, it could physically stop before it doesn't have to go all the way in. It can stop any time before that. And that can be set by the magnet. So you have two magnets on this machine. I'm just going to pull the motor off so you see it, but there's the motor unit and it has one magnet connected to the motor. This is flipping every cycle. It does one complete turn, and it pushes and pulls every cycle. On this machine here, the magnet on the armature bar is there. These are removable, they're just magnetic. There's a magnet onto the armature bar here, and so it's just held on magnetically. With my first gen, second gen, it's the same thing. It's just a straight armature bar. So basically, the bigger the magnet you choose, the less it's going to give, which means the more force it's going to have when it hits your skin. So that's bigger needles. That's like the harder it hits, the harder hit you need, the bigger magnet you want to take. So normally coincides with the number of needles. More needles require more power to get through the skin, so you're going to choose a bigger magnet. Your speed, how often it hits, is set by the motor. And the motor is, of course, controlled by your power unit. So that the higher voltage you go, the faster the motor flips, the more often the needle is going to hit. Depending on the magnet you choose, it's going to have your strength, if you want to hit soft or you want it to hit hard. And the stroke is set on the armature bar itself. There's a set screw. You can just loosen it a little bit and micro adjust that screw, which allows you to really dial in your stroke. You're not confined to presets. So you can really get it in there to where you need it to be. You know, it doesn't require you to choose a preset number. You can really get it in there. Normally I try to make my armature bars, they usually go even like past 6 millimeters, which is normally more than you would need. You never know, you know, but yeah. So these are the three important things: speed, strength or give, and your stroke. They're all independently adjustable, and they're very easily adjustable. You don't need any tools, and they're very repeatable. So you could even like write it down if you wanted to, what voltage and what magnet and what stroke you're using. Some people count the threads on the stroke to really get it in there, but normally you don't need to do that. So these three basic things are pertaining to all of my rotary machines. They all have these functionalities. And this is a major advantage because it's very easy to tune. The magnetic linkage doesn't change, doesn't wear out. Springs usually take over this function, and springs are usually one of the weak points of a machine, just because they change, they break, they wear, they're finicky. Yeah, so I really took a long time to get rid of all the springs. So this is the three important things in my rotaries. Like I said, they're all the same. So if you guys have any questions about those, just write me. I'm going to be doing, like I said, other videos again, explaining in more detail all of the small things that I think are important as far as my machines go, in any machine as far as that goes. But let me know if you guys have any specific wishes that you want to know about. I'm going to try to cover them all. I'm going to try to get them out to you pretty fast. All right. Take care. Bye bye.